11 Pacific time. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. Traveling. Welcome, 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 welcome. So Seer and Higher Self. YouTube Live, so you can ask, any questions. There's going to be a description there'll be a description added. But basically, I just need your first name and then your year that you were born. And my glasses keep getting foggy. It's interesting. I've cleaned them so many times. The year that you're born, and then your pronouns, she, he. Sometimes I can't tell how to enunciate names. And so then also let me know how to enunciate your name. And then your question, your seer and higher self question would be great. Just saw in the chat that Juanita is here. Welcome. Good morning. Thank you for joining. Let's send some hearts. Okay, let's have some water. So it feels like, we are all in the field, we're receiving a lot of information. It looks like Laura is also here. Greetings, gratitude, love to you all. Thank you, Laura, and welcome. And I'm going to send you some hearts. How are you feeling, Laura? The last time we spoke, I think you were in the hospital. All right, so just doing some clearing right away for the nervous system. And then it looks like Juanita already has a question. Thank you, Juanita, for putting it so nice, so clearly, like your name, the year that you're born, and then she, her, and then your question. So sending lots of love. But let's do just a guided journey to connect and clear, because then that just kind of helps all of us get grounded into this space. So we claim the atmospheric space in Source's name. So this is the technology decree. We claim the Wi-Fi in Source's name. We claim YouTube in Source's name. We claim the chat also. And I was like, there's something, something, something. And I could feel like a block, but we've had the chat interrupted as well. So I want to claim the chat in Source's name. Okay, so let's connect with our hearts. And then we're going to go into the deep eye, our higher self, only Source aligned, and then connecting into the inner body. And then it's almost like people say, well, I don't feel really, I can feel in my inner body. And it's like kind of, you can fake it, like intention matters more than, because the mind will say, I don't think you're doing it right, or it's not right, or you don't know what you're doing. So the mind, will play tricks on us, but just have the intention that my intention is to connect to the heart and then connect into the inner body. And then we're just going to work with our intention. And also with this work, we also work with intention, right? So, okay. I can see there's some action happening in the chat, and thank you so much for putting lots of information in the chat. I'm going to let's do this guided kind of inner journey together. And then in preparation, so we're connecting to the inner body, we're connecting to Source, and we're going to invite the golden light of Source to come in and kind of surround us, and then to also connect inside our inner body. So we're inviting Source consciousness, the golden light of Source, and then going into the inner body. Good. 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 And then you can almost feel like, for me, what I feel is that my posture improves. And then I feel like almost like straighter. So the alignment, matters. So we're just going to connect in here. And then also like all the adjustments is just the body releasing. So just allow, I always look very busy, but I look very busy in sessions, like the body and also the person having the session also, they feel a lot in their body. I've had quite a few people, jump up, they're sitting down and they jump up. So, the body is wanting to release the distortions, release the interference. Those are gentle words. Like Eckhart Tolle uses the word pain body, but we're here together to release what we can, and it's easier together so that we can connect with our highest timeline. So let's do that right now. So I connect with my highest timeline, only source aligned. Good. And then connecting to the I am presence in through the heart. So our true essence, the I am presence, our higher self, only source aligned. And then connecting. And then we're stabilizing our frequency with the crystalline grid with New Earth, the sacred garden. I've also heard it called the sacred garden. And then stabilizing that. And really, if we did this together, more than anything else, it actually is what helps release the distortions and then connect to kind of sacred purpose, right? So we want to know like who we are, what are we doing here? What's going on? Those are, you're starting to get out of 3D when you're asking those questions. And then wanting to have the highest frequency in your highest timeline. And then embodied so that nothing comes into your body, like if we're not in our bodies, alcohol and drugs pop you out of your body. And so if you don't want that, then, they're they're it's very difficult to stay in your body after one drink of alcohol because the intention of alcohol is it's a spirit and not a friendly one. All right. All right, so we're back. We're here. We're present. Okay. And we're here to emit that resonance, the resonance through our hearts, that connection through our hearts. And then just receive fully from source consciousness, the golden light of source. And then I receive fully source consciousness, source golden light. And then especially bringing it into the cells, and then the cells expressing whatever support, vitamins, minerals, whatever our light body needs, our crystalline body. But we're fully embodied. We're not out of our bodies. That's good. All right. Thank you. All right. Good. We'll have some water. Okay. So let's take a look at the chat. I saw Juanita put a question up. Okay. And then Laura says, thanks for the hearts, home and recovering. Okay, so Laura, last time, I think on Thursday, asked a question and she had to go to the emergency. She went into the hospital as an emergency. Juanita says, we claim all this day in Source's name. Yeah, beautiful. Juanita said, laugh out loud, but I'm not sure when. And then Juanita says, yes. And then Juanita says, hi to Laura. And then Juanita asks, where is your candle, Elaine? Yes, this bouquet of flowers is so big that if I put the candle, it would burn the flowers. So I kind of chose the big flowers over the candle today, which flowers, they emit a frequency and a resonance. So I kind of chose, I couldn't have both because if I put the candle anywhere else, it kind of burns the bookshelf. It needs quite like a high, this is the only place really I can put a candle. and it would burn the flower. This bouquet is just so huge. So I just I made the bouquet more important in this live. Okay, but good question. Thanks, Juanita. And Juanita, do you have your candle lit? Wasn't that one of the things that your higher self said would be really good for you to light a candle for yourself? I don't remember when you ask questions like seer and higher self questions, I don't actually remember the answers. And so if I met you and you'd be like, "Oh, you know so much about me," I would be actually the me, Elaine, no. But communicating with your higher self, yes, I would get a lot of information. But for me, as the human, the human Elaine, no. I'm just gonna lift up my stool a little bit. Okay, so um yeah, Juanita says there's usually a candle next to you. Yeah, exactly. And then Juanita gives lots of hearts. I'm going to send some hearts back. And then Senija has a question as well, a seer and herself question. Okay. And then Helen says hi to everyone and getting some orange hearts back. So I think that's from Juanita. So thank you. And then Laura. Okay. So it didn't look like Laura had a question. So it looks like it's Juanita first, and then so let me see. And then Senija has a question. And then Juanita says we need healing and protection. Thank you, Spirit. Yeah, of course. And then Juanita says, pretty flowers, thank you. And Juanita says she did light one, and I'm guessing she's saying that for the candle. Okay, awesome. So sending hearts to everybody. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm always like adjusting my camera too. Okay, so let's take a look at Juanita's question. Okay, so we're going to go into, and we can do this together. Like, let's go into 0 point together. Connecting to the heart. Okay, so Juanita's question is, I am Juanita, 1981, she, her. Can you share with me any messages from my higher self or angels and guides? Thanks. Okay, so let's take a look. You just want a general, leaving it open. Any messages from your higher self? So we're going to say higher self, only source aligned, and angels, only source aligned, and guides, only source aligned. So we're connecting with Juanita's. So how it looks for me is kind of like we're like have a pillar of source consciousness within us, and then our higher self, depending on what dimension they are connecting, and then it's like a bubbles. It's not like horizontal, it's more vertical where they're like popping out. So then there's like angels and guides, but we're really careful in this work that they're only source aligned. So we don't want any tricksters because there's enough trickery in 3 and 4D, but we don't want that in this work. So, okay. Oops. It's one of those stools that go up and down. It's kind of new. I usually have a bench, but the bench was really hurting my back. Okay, so Juanita, 1981. Any messages from my higher self, angels, guides, only source aligned? Thanks. Okay. Yeah, they're saying right now what they're wanting to do is kind of like connect and activate your life force to match your body's highest frequency. And so then the fast track is always through love. And so they're going to do that here now. So they're going to they want to activate your life force to match your body's highest frequency. So they're wanting to activate a higher frequency inside of you. So I always see that as an acceleration. Yeah, they're saying that You can say that. You can say that. So they're saying you can say that so that it is an acceleration. So yeah, only source aligned. And we're asking for the deepest healing and the deepest clearing, right to the root cause, right to the very first incarnation. And then they want to activate the highest frequency of life force, is how they're wording it, in your body. And they're doing it with love. Yeah, good. Just clearing the neck, clearing the shoulders. Yeah, clearing the neck and clearing the shoulders. Lots of stiffness in the neck and the shoulders, so they're just clearing the neck and the shoulders. Yeah, so they said you can just think like, if that's true that you want to welcome that, they said that that's helpful, where you say, yes, I welcome, to activate my highest life force and the highest frequency in my body and with love. So they're saying that it does help when you welcome and you say yes and you welcome that activation. It's like an acceleration. So, and then that way it's easier to receive fully. Yeah. And then just like intention, and think of intention as like, you know, um, like I always would see like Yeshua's golden arrow. Like it would be like a golden arrow. Like intention sets like a golden arrow. It like makes things crystal clear. And then it opens up the window and in your consciousness. And so they're saying that, your life force, they want to activate more life force and the highest frequency in your body. And they're doing this with love. All right. There you go. And when he says only source aligned, yeah, great. Okay, thanks. Okay, so I feel like that's their message. So the message is that you're getting an activation in your life force, but it's for your highest frequency of your body. And they're doing it with love. And then if you welcome it and say, yes, I want the activation, yes, I want the acceleration, then it kind of creates that kind of golden arrow, the golden arrow pathway. And good. All right. So let's close for Juanita. Oh, Juanita said it out loud. That's great, Juanita. Yeah, exactly. Because the voice has resonance, the voice has power. And okay, so Juanita said she said out loud what I said, and she says yes. Okay, great. Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's close for Juanita. So we're asking for the deepest healing and the deepest clearing, right to the root cause, right to the very first incarnation. And we're asking that all these shifts and changes happen with ease and grace, under the law of one, under the law of grace, and then bringing in source's golden light. And then we thank Juanita's higher self and angels and guides, only source aligned, for the guidance and for the help today. Yeah, and I heard them say thank you and then call on us always, call on us. They're always like, they're never tired. They're always like, call on us always, they're so hopeful. They're always wanting to help. So Juanita gives triple hearts, so sending hearts back. So good job. I mean, thank you. I think good job. Why not? Okay, so let's look at the next question was Senija. Okay. Hi everyone, Senija, she, her, 1973. Can you please ask my higher self to clear my spine, especially L5 and S1 area? I'm in pain. Many thanks. Okay, I'm not sure where L1 and S1 is, but let's I don't have my anatomy chart here, but let's see what we can see intuitively, right? So connecting with Senija's higher self, 1973, connecting with Senija's higher self, 1973. Yeah, they're saying the way through is through play. And the more play you have, the more ease and grace. Like they're saying that the answer is play. Okay, and then let's take a look. Yeah, they're saying it's like a constriction of energy. It's kind of what they're showing is that you receive a lot and but they're like wanting more output, it's kind of like you're receiving a lot, like researching a lot, doing a lot, but they're saying like, but there needs to be like, you need to expel it or release it, or like it needs output, like play. Play, it's like, say there's a ball coming and you receive the ball, but then you're playing and you toss the ball, and then you receive the ball and you toss the ball. They're saying that's more what they want. They're trying to help you with is, it's like, yes, receive, but you don't have to hold. You can just be like, okay, I receive it and then I release it, and then I receive it and I release it. Kind of like that. They're saying like, imagine that, like imagine playing with a ball and then you receive the ball, but then, if you're playing like, say, volleyball, the goal is you receive the ball, but to get rid of the ball as quickly as possible, right? And to kind of do it with power and force. Like you're not like, volleyball is quite a power, like, I don't know if you've ever have like a volleyball coming at you, it's intense, right? Like they spike the volleyball and it can be really intense. The force can be really intense coming towards you. But then you just get rid of it as fast as possible. And they're saying, it doesn't have to be like that, forceful, but they want to see the energy coming in and then the energy going out. So the energy coming in and then the energy going out, because it seems like what's happening is that there's energies coming in and then there's like this um, holding, it's creating a compression. It's like a holding, and it's like, when you uh pump a tire, they're saying like, and you put too much air and then it's like too tight. It's almost like that, like that it's too tight. It's like there's there's a compression. So they're saying the fast track is actually just imagine like information comes in, but then you keep what you want and then you release, and then keep what you want and release. And, you know, like they're wanting, like, think of it as being, they want you to be more playful, like that, um, like, and really focus on like the highest good, focus on, just whatever is the highest good, and then just release. It's just like, I receive this in my highest good and I release this in the highest good. And then play with that. And then, because um the body emits like a resonance, but it needs action, it needs, like you can be like in your mind going, oh, I really want to be like an Olympian, an Olympic athlete, but your body needs a lot of training and your mind needs a lot of focus, and you need a lot of mind, body, spirit, you need a lot of training. And so they're saying like there's a lot of ideas, but there's not a lot of like action, like the action has to go out, and then you're receiving a lot, but it's like expel, like release. And then it's kind of things will move faster that way, like it's like they're saying it will move, and yeah, the energy needs to move, and but the answer overall is to play. And then the volleyball example is just to kind of show the movement. And it's like, really, volleyball can be really intense, like you have to, like really dive down or whatever, get the ball, but the goal is not to hold on to the ball. The goal is to get the ball going, away from you. So, yeah. And they said that will really help in getting back to your sacred purpose because it's like right now there's too much compression. All right, so let's take a look at the chat. Um, Juanita says play is fun. And then Senija says, do you mean taking action on the information I receive? Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's like you're receiving, but if we don't take action on what we're receiving, then it's almost like it creates a backlog, you know? Like I could think about things for a long time, but sometimes just speaking them can clarify it, but if I'm kind of like, well, I can't speak until it's perfect, it's that's not the right resonance, right? Like then I'm not emitting a resonance. That's perfectionism, that's the mind. And so if I'm waiting constantly for perfection, that's the mind. but the but consciousness, source consciousness, actually is very playful. Yeah. So Sunija says, I'm scared taking risk by playing and feeling something bad would happen. Yeah, that's the conditioning, right? Like that's the dark triad. That's the 3D material plane in essence, right? If I'm having fun, something bad's gonna happen, and then something bad happens. So like think about what the goal is for 3D. The goal is that you work for very little and that you are exhausted and run down, and then they put tons of pharmaceuticals in your body. And then when you have like responses to everything that's put in your body, they're like, "Oh, well, we don't know what to do," right? You're left kind of on your own, you know? So I was I was thinking about, that woman that there's a documentary on Netflix and I can't remember the name of her name, but it just popped into my head where, they listed all the pharmaceuticals she was on and she ended up like I think killing her children. Anyways, it was really horrible, but it was like this the amount of pharmaceuticals that she had in her little body, she's a young woman and didn't weigh that much, so she weighed like a regular amount, and the amount that she had in her body, it was like they're like, oh, you have this symptom, so we'll just give you this and then we'll give you this, and then her whole body was like, and the mind all like it's just a gong show, like it's so irresponsible, like so it feels like that, like they're saying, like that's like a negative example, but that's like very 3D. So 3D is very much like, accumulate, buy, accumulate, and then be kind of downtrodden, and then you can't like expel any energy out, right? But actually, source consciousness is very like in the moment in prison. It's like information comes in, and you kind of go, oh, well, I believe that, I don't believe that, no, and I'm gonna express this out. So, um, anyways. Yeah, they're saying that it's like an extreme example, but they're kind of like it's not healthy for having like a lot of information constantly coming in without having the action. But they're saying don't see it in a serious way, like see it in a playful way. That's what they really want to say, not in a serious way. That's the 3D material plane, and that's the wrong direction. Like through play, through try like kids try stuff, like they try things, they don't know when they're playing with something if it's going to work or not, but they're just trying, and they're kind of like it that is the natural way of being. So the way children play is and solving problems, they walk on their own. You don't have to teach a toddler to walk. I know some people do, but you don't need to teach a toddler to walk. They will practice standing up on a with a chair, or like hanging on to the refrigerator or the cupboard, or they'll and kind of sit up, and then they'll get up, and then they'll fall down, but they're trying things to see what works, and then once their feet and their hips are strong enough, they walk, you know that's kind of the natural way. Um, and we have that in us, like we don't have to be taught. Like, yeah, they're just saying like it's so much of what we need is just already inside of us. So, um, Juanita says, yeah, they're very curious and they keep trying things. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like, the children and the babies are closest to source, they're just came from source. So they're very natural, they have awe and wonder, and they're curious about things, and then they try things. And then the less we interfere with children, they act, if we're just there as like protectors holding the space, children develop really well. They just need protection, because they can't protect themselves because they're little. So they need protectors, and then like a secure environment. But the development, they learn through play and trying things. But, they don't say, they don't try to stand up and then fall like they're two, and they don't say, "Oh, you're so stupid," right? Like that comes later when other adults say, "Oh, you're so stupid." But children don't talk to themselves that way. They don't have that critical voice. And sometimes, depending on your environment, you cannot have that critical voice till you're around 7 or 8 years old. And a lot of the 18-year-olds and younger are not having that, I call it an installation, the critical voice and the ego. So, all right. Um, so yeah, with Senija, they're saying like there's a compression happening with the spine, but it's like an energetic compression. They're saying more than anything, it's an energetic compression. They're saying that right now they're focusing on they're just doing some releases for you. And it's an energetic compression, but what will help it, the compression, is actually play. And then the volleyball example, the baby example, and then the example of the woman where she's just was given so many pharmaceuticals that she just basically lost her mind. So it's like, we can really lose track if we're just constantly like receiving, you know, um, information without kind of discernment. And then, it's like, and hand it over, like hand everything over to source. You can just hand it over. It's like, I don't know how to answer this. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to hand it over to source. And then, but then take some kind of an action, some kind of, you know, some kind of way of getting the playing ball and getting the ball back out there in the world, so you're receiving the ball, but you're sending the ball out there as well. So yes, good. Okay, so thanks, Senija. So that's for Senija 1973. Okay, so let's close for Senija. Okay, closing for Senija 1973. So only source aligned, bringing in the golden light of source, and then clearing, 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 right to the root cause, to the very first incarnation. Good. Thanks, Senija. I hope that's helpful. All right. Um, Yeah, Juanita says, yeah, laughing all the time. So I think that's for the children and the babies. Yeah, they are. They're laughing all the time. They think everything is funny. Like their toe is so funny, like, and they try stuff. They're constantly trying, you know, trying stuff. And Juanita says, so cute. And then Senija says, yes, it's overcoming the critical voice. Yeah, exactly. And Senija says, thank you so much. And then Angel hearts. Smiley hearts, smiley face, and then a yellow heart and a pink heart on fire. Thank you, Senija. Thank you. And then Helen says, sending you unconditional love, Senija. Beautiful. Nice. Okay, so let's take a look at the chat and then I'll see what I missed here. And thank you so much for being here and also for asking questions and commenting in the chat. Okay, so let's take a look. So we did Juanita's question. We did Sanija's question. And then in the chat, let's see. Oh yeah, Laura. I thought there was another question. Let's see, where's Laura's question? Oh, here you are. Okay, thanks, Laura. I'm gonna have some water. Good job. Lots of love. Yeah, lots of love. Thank you. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate it. Let's celebrate because we're doing really well. Look at how much we've done so far. We've done the technology decree, we've claimed the atmosphere and source's name. That's the big one I asked. What is the most important thing that I'm not doing right now? Like I asked my higher self on Sunday, and they're like, claim the atmosphere in source's name. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that on the live. Okay, so let's see. Next question. Good. Thank you for putting these in the chat. Senija says, thank you, Helen. Big hug to you. And then lots of hugs and hearts. Beautiful. Very 5D of you all. So supportive, but that's what we're creating. I mean, that is 5D. 5D isn't, power over. It's like connected to source and then sacred purpose, like through the heart though, right? So we've already seen other timelines not do very well because of that. They weren't heart-based. Like the one popping in my mind is like, yeah, Atlantis had a lot of tech, but they were not connected with their hearts. They weren't heart-based and it collapsed. But a lot of technology came through Atlantis. Yeah, they're saying like right now, like Atlantis is like at a still point. So it's another timeline. Okay, so let's take a look and find Laura. Okay, Laura, 1970. We talked about my diamond light body, and I know I've done a lot of ancestral healing, but I would like to understand my function in relation to dad, brother, and son as I become the diamond body. Okay, so that's a good question. They're always good questions, but it's a good question because it's like, yeah, when you have an awakening and your diamond body activates. Okay, so I'll also explain what the diamond body is and what are we talking about, right? Because if we don't know what we're talking about, the terms are like, bananas. Like I don't know why I said that, but anyways, they're like, well, if we don't explain what it is, then it's like bananas. Funny expression, but that's the expression that they used, or that's what I heard, so I said it. So with this, with seer work, what happens is I'll hear the information or I'll see the information or I'll feel it, and then I speak it as I see it and I feel it. So I don't edit or I don't change or I'm not like questioning. I'm like I'm like the clearer I am as a receiver, the better seer I am. And say if I stopped being like a clear receiver and then speaking out what is exactly coming through, I would just lose this ability. It would just become dormant. So I can't say that I'm connecting to the higher self and then source consciousness without integrity, right? So integrity means the information comes through and then I speak it as it comes through. So I heard them say bananas, and so then I had to say bananas, but I'm like, I've never said that. But that happens a lot. Okay, so the diamond body. So what are we talking about with the diamond body? So on 3D Earth, our bodies are very heavy and they're called a carbon body. So they're very heavy with they kind of don't have much light. Okay, so especially when we're like low 3D, like what's like shame is like 20 in the consciousness scale. So it's like we're not even at like 1%, right? We're at like 20. And then guilt is 30, apathy is 50, fear is 100. So fear is 1D. And so most of us in a 3D body are actually living at 1D with intense fear because that's the program. Like the program, or you can call it the matrix, or you can call it the fake show, is actually to keep you at fear most of the time. So the movies are there to scare you. The horror movies are there to scare you. The dating apps are scary because the people can become like psychopaths, the dark triad. So it's like constantly, 1D is constantly showing you like the Instagram life of like, oh, you could have like this gorgeous partner and live in this gorgeous house and travel all over the world. And it's like the job doesn't match all the luxury. Like, where's the money coming from? You know, like that's 1D. 1D, 2D, it's like, where's the money to do this? Like, their job does not match. Like, I know if I go on like a really, not even like an expensive vacation, just a regular vacation even in Canada, it can cost like $5,000, right? So these people are going around the world, but where's the money coming from? That's the dissonance of 1D and 2D. They're wanting to sell this lifestyle, but you're mostly in terror, if not fear, and then mostly your body is sick, and that's 1 and 2D, right? So that is a carbon body, and they're wanting you, as if they activate, it's kind of like what it was shown from 4D. It's like they have like they work through electricity, so these electrical prods to constantly make you afraid and then stay at a low frequency. So just clearing the nervous system because this information is triggering to the pain body. Just clearing. There's nothing to be afraid of, right? But I'm just saying, this is the kind of like the architecture of 1 and 2D. Okay. And we keep thinking we're in 3D, but we mostly have been living in 1 and 2D, right? Like fear is fear is 1D, and there's lower than fear. Like guilt is lower consciousness than fear. So if you're feeling like apathy, it's even like it's 50. It's like you're not even at 1D, right? And then guilt is like you're almost dead. Shame, you're almost dead, basically. Death is 0, shame is 20. So that to me feels very accurate, those numbers, because they're they're wanting you to be like barely alive, but you know, enslaved basically. But enslaved through the mind, right? Controlled through the mind. So as soon as you start asking questions, then you're raising your light body, your diamond body. So our carbon body, as soon as we start asking questions, then we're getting into high 3D. Okay. So as soon as you start feeling courage, you're at 2D, right? You're feeling courageous. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on? And you're starting to ask questions. And so then you're starting to emit a different frequency. You're connecting to your heart, connecting to your higher self. And then you're like, I have a higher self. Like I remember when enough interference and trauma was released, I was like, I have like a pillar of light inside of me. And that wasn't even through energy work. That was with a psychologist. I was like, I can see I have like a pillar of light. Like no matter the trauma, the pillar of light has remained and has been there. It was like blew my mind. And then the next one was like, I have a compass, like I have intuition. I've always had intuition. And it was like, that was like another awakening, right? But that's when you're really coming out of 2D and then 3D is activating, which means 3D is also collapsing, if you think of it that way. And so the diamond body is the crystalline body or the light body, and it activates on its own. You can't have like nobody, like I couldn't do a session where I'm gonna activate your diamond body or your light body. Okay, that's the only way the light body or the diamond body activates is if there's enough interference has been removed and there has been enough of an awakening. Courage, neutrality is huge, right? So if we're we're not reacting, we're more neutral, we're like observing things and connecting the dots. That's actually a lot of power. And so the light body starts activating once we start asking questions, and then asking questions basically, starts breaking and disassembles. We start telling the truth. We start telling our truth. We start seeing the truth, not the truth of all, but we start seeing the truth for ourselves. We start naming things as they are. Like it was very hard for me to admit what my mother and my brother and my younger brother and my sister, the way they are. It took decades for me to tell the truth because I didn't want it to be true. I really wanted, the empath rose-colored glasses. So the diamond body activates once, the carbon body, like, so the carbon body has all the guilt and the shame and the apathy and the grief. And once all of that starts getting named and released, then the diamond body starts activating, which is also called the light body. And then some people call it also the crystalline body. So, and it's a natural process, just like how babies learn how to walk and talk. It's a natural process. So you don't have to take a course in it. It's like a natural process, and it's a natural process of activating more consciousness, but more presence, more light inside of you. And then the cells basically turn on, and then the carbon body gets more light in it. They're like saying, like kind of like if you see like a ball and then you poke holes through it and then you can see light through it. It's kind of like that. It's like the light body activates, it kind of has more light coming through it. And then the more you're connecting to your higher self and then source consciousness, then of course more light comes in. So yeah. Okay. So then that's the light, that's the diamond body. And then let's see, Laura's question. to understand her function in relation to her dad and her brother and son. So I'm getting like super hot. So I feel like there's a lot of what I'm hearing them say is there's a lot of purification happening, right? So what is Laura's function in relation to her dad? Yeah, they said you can just let go, you can just let go. And then what is the function in relation to the brother? Yeah, they're just saying like um it's the brother, like the interference comes with the third eye. It's like you're seeing things correctly. It's like, it kind of like messes with your third eye, the brother. So you can just like stay focused though. You don't have to. And then understanding, so we're looking at ancestral healing and then function in relation to the dad and then the brother and then the son. So as I become the diamond body. So, and then the son. Yeah, they just said that, with the son, you can they'll understand the truth. Just describe things as you want to explain them. But you don't have to say like the whole truth, but you can just say like, that they'll understand the truth of situations. Yeah. And so as you become a diamond body, it really is the ending of your own suffering. Like activating the diamond body is um like once the diamond body is on, that's embodied 5D. And so that really is just ending your own suffering, right? Because you're no longer identified with the mind, and maybe even the ego installation has been ejected, and then you're connecting with your heart and your and source. So you're like, you're connected. Yeah, the diamond body is more about your own truth. And then you don't have to, and then once you have your own truth, you don't have to convince anybody or you don't have to teach anybody. You don't have to show anybody. You can just be standing in your own truth. So it would be more like, love to love and respect to respect. So 5D is very like love to love and respect, but we're really respecting others, like um I would kind of jump in and help. This as an aside, I would, as an example, they're saying you can say this an example, but I would just jump in to help. And they were like, I didn't wait until the person asked and then looked into the situation with them, because it's much more empowering for people to kind of solve their own, like a baby learning how to walk. They just need a secure, safe space, where they have food and sleep and a bath and they're comfy and they just need a secure space, and then they develop actually really well and naturally. So they're saying, 5D is, truth to truth, but I respect your truth, you know. Um, but if I feel like something is true, yeah, like I believe that Atlantis, what I've received in my information is that Atlantis fell because they went so far in technology and then they forgot the heart, and it was not heart-based. So then they did they did weird stuff, because there was no respect. Like you can't have like you can't be accelerating in technology without the heart, because without the heart there's no respect, and there's also truth gets distorted. So so think of like the diamond body as like the ending of your own suffering, because if the diamond body is on, that's 5D. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the chat. Um, oh, okay, so it looks like there's somebody new that has shown up on the chat at Chalupa. CHALUPAJ23 handle. Says, reminds me of Metamorphosis like a butterfly. Exactly. Oh, thanks, Jordan. Yeah, thank you. So the handle is Jordan, so thank you. It is like a metamorphosis, and we are basically clearing all the interference that is not ours. It's like basically we're taking out the trash. And it kind of like metamorphosis, and it was like, you know, he looked like a really what was it, like a gross beetle or something, like super disgusting. And then he, you know, like it was super, like people were freaking out because it was like he was going through the metamorphosis of change, but it's like, you know, you kind of can, it's kind of like it's a deconstruction process, and it sometimes, well, all the time, it's actually not so pretty because it is a deconstruction process. And we're basically ejecting out the mind, the critical voice, the conscious mind, and then connecting into heart-based consciousness, which everything in 3D and 4D is do not connect with the heart and source consciousness. It's all connected. It's all planned out. You know, they're planners, you know, it's all planned out so that you bypass the heart and you bypass source consciousness. And you definitely don't connect to love or truth or play or joy or reverence or equality or respect. You know, like those are all 5D qualities or 5D basics. Yeah. Laura says these relationships are still so fraught. I seem to trigger them. It seems like I'm still working in an ancestral healing way with them, and I keep expecting it to be easier now. Yeah, and it's really hard. Like it's sometimes like we just need to name things as they are, not how we want them to be, but how they are. And then sometimes it's like just letting people be, you know? Like say if somebody is a dark triad in your family, which that is the norm. It's not the exception, it's the norm. It's the way 3D is set up. You know, I could spend my whole life in service to the dark triad mother, and I did, and nothing happened. Like, meaning nothing shifted in the positive. She did not become conscious. You know, she died exactly, you know, lying, cheating, and stealing. You know, she is or was overtaken or whatever you want to call it. But her whole being was the dark triad. And so you kind of have to know who you're who is around, like who are the players, you know, who are they? And and usually if it's really difficult, you're dealing with the dark triad, and they want you to stay confused and to get drained and to get triggered and to get confused and kind of not stay with your truth, like they, you know. And usually they'll be like a gang around you. They're not it's not just, you know, usually it's not just one person in the family, and that's kind of like just the way the 3D is set up. So you have to look at, okay, well, but what are the relationships like? And, you know, if there is a narcissist, you're not going to get very far. I mean, you can keep trying, but the dynamic is to make you stay low and not to activate your diamond body. So it's designed to keep you in trauma loops, is what they're saying. And so sometimes, you know, like it's kind of it's like a brainwash thing that happens in 3D, just kind of like the light trap, where when you die, oh well, don't you want to reincarnate with the same people so that you work it out and that you heal and that you and you're the only, you're the only empath, you're the only light worker, and you're the only one hustling. You're the only one hustling for healing. You're the only one hustling for truth, you know? And no one else is hustling and no one else cares. And so sometimes it's like that's also a trick. Like, we can't influence and change other people. And we also have to know who we're dealing with. And, Earth is convoluted and it's hard to admit that, there's the dark triad is in our family lineage, but it is, they are, they usually it's one light worker, maybe two light workers, maybe three light workers in a family lineage, and then the rest are the dark triad with a few light workers. And then New Earth it will be like a light worker, uh, mother, a light worker father, father, mother, mother, a light worker child, a light worker sibling. It'll be a light worker family. And that's the New Earth, that's 5D. And so, but we're told, and also there's religious programming. It's like that we can't just heal ourselves, we have to heal all of the whole lineage. And it's like, when Eckhart Tolle awakened when he was 29 in like 1974, there's no one in his family that was awakened. He was the only one. And no one has awakened, and he's awakened, but no one else has awakened. So, and he didn't sugarcoat or kind of like idealize like his dad or his mom. He talked about them the way they are, but he didn't try to change them and he didn't try to influence them. They are the way they are. And then sometimes we just let go and then we literally let go. So it's not that you're triggering them. It's like the air could trigger them. If somebody's a narcissist, they need energy and they need the light worker's energy. And so if you trigger them, it's because they need energy, because they can't get energy themselves because they've gone so far away from source consciousness. So the the answer they're saying is not an easy one because light workers, are here to help and here to awaken. And it's like we're going against kind of ourselves. But ultimately, if you think about the cosmic law of free will choice, that actually is actually what we're here to upload and uphold more than anything. We're here to upload free will, which means everyone gets to choose and they're not tricked into these false contracts and these false kind of installations through inferred consent, because 3D is all inferred consent and 4D. So if you think of the cosmic law, actually you're doing a lot if you allow people to be the way they are without interfering unless they ask, right? So you can do ancestral healing and clearing for yourself so that you are clearing the trauma and triggers for yourself, but we cannot, it's not like something that you do for yourself. It's not like when Eckhart awakened, then all his lineage awakened. Nobody else awakened, and he's been awakened for decades now. So, but he's in his 70s. So for 4 decades, he's awakened, and and his family members haven't awakened. So it's not like that where you awaken and then it awakens everybody else. Everyone else still has a free will choice. And also, we don't know what their soul lineage is. And 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 it isn't easy, right? Because seeing things without rose-colored glasses is not easy, right? And that, and you know, like with empaths and sensitives and light workers, we wouldn't have been able to survive without the rose-colored glasses with all of the trauma and all the ancestors, and then all, like, it took me a long time to see my mother as she is, my brother as he is, my other brother as he is, and my sister as she is, because I wanted a nicer picture. I didn't want it to be true, but I had so many examples of that truth. But I still didn't want it to be true. I wanted to be close with my family. I wanted a loving family. I wanted a close family. But that is not the way they are. They love lying, cheating, and stealing. Like they love it. Like they don't care about love. Like they could put love in the garbage can. They get irritated. They hate love. Like it grosses them out. You know, they're the dark triad. They hate love. They're like parasites. What they want is energy. And the more you get upset, the more energy they receive. So the more downtrodden you become, the happier they are. I've never seen more happy people than when I was in the hospital. Went into the hospital once in my life, and I remember how happy my siblings and my mother were. And I was like, wow, they're so weird, right? Like the dark triad are like anti-life. They're so weird. It made them so happy, you know? And I was like the dutiful daughter, you know, always wanting to be there, wanting to help, and always making excuses. Oh, it's okay. So just have like wonder about that, you know, and wonder about the family dynamics, and then see what the truth is for yourself. They're saying, you know, like see what the truth is. And it doesn't mean you have to do anything. Like, you know, I saw like my brother was a reptilian when I was 5, but I didn't need to do anything about it. It was more like a recognition, you know. And even though I had tons of examples of him as a narcissist, I still didn't want to believe he was a narcissist. I still believed love can heal all, and it's not true. Like on in 3D, we have to choose and awaken consciousness on 3D, but it is a free will choice. So can't influence, we can't change, and everybody has to choose and decide for themselves. So good. Yeah. Thank you, Laura. So Laura says, thank you so much, double hearts. Okay, so let's close for Laura. So we're closing for Laura, bringing in Source's golden light, and closing for Laura, 1970, she, her, closing, bringing in the golden light of Source, and then holding her frequency at that heart-based frequency of truth, of respect, and that inner knowing. And then they're saying you could even hand them over to Source. You know, let Source work it out. Yeah, good. Yeah, they're like surrender. That's powerful. You know, instead of working so hard, they're like surrender. You know, surrender them to Source. You know, I'm assuming they're all adults, so just release them to Source. Maybe the son isn't an adult, I'm not sure, but release them, even if they are a child, but even surrendering, releasing them to Source, that also helps, because then it's not my will, it's thy will. You know, then we're releasing, we're letting go of control. Yeah, good. Laura says, I do find that confusing in terms of oneness. We have all played the different roles throughout our lifetimes. Even the darkness ultimately goes back to Source. Yes, but it is their own free will choice. So, maybe um like we all have to decide kind of when enough is enough, right? So the oneness, yes, and the higher levels, anything over 5D, 60, 70, 80, 90 is all oneness, right? To 25D is source, right? All of that is oneness, but 3D is not oneness. 3D is um 3D is there as an awakening process. But we have to do the awakening process for ourselves by ourselves. And it is a free will choice. So we can't convince others around us to awaken. It's kind of like, okay, what they're saying is it's like an alcoholic. So if somebody is an alcoholic and they're hiding it, that they're an alcoholic, they will fight you tooth and nail to hold on to their alcohol. And you could tell them a million times, look, when you drink alcohol, you shoot out of your body, an entity comes in, not a friendly one, not a good one, and they're a hungry entity. And you could tell them that. And if they love alcohol, they do not care. And their whole life could get destroyed because of alcohol, and they don't care. They are obsessed with alcohol, and until they hit a point where they want help or they're forced into it, some people are forced into rehab from their jobs. I know one guy that was. Until they're forced into it, they still are obsessed with alcohol. It is that powerful. So they really have to choose for themselves. Another one that I've seen that is very addictive and controlling is cocaine. And that really came through in the 80s and the 90s. But it is, and then now with amphetamines, and, it's like Vancouver is mostly like all our hospitals could be filled with overdoses. It's that addictive, right? So, but people have to get to a point where they want to be sober, they want to stop this cycle. So you could do everything to try to convince them, but until they choose it themselves, you're not going to have much influence. The alcohol wins, right? Which, because what's behind the alcohol are entities, right? And they're fighting to survive, meaning they want that body, that has been vacated. Yeah. So yeah, ultimately everything, goes back to source. And I mean, that's 3D, right? 3D, we're kind of run out of time. Earth is shifting too, right? Mother Earth is shifting as well. So shifting in consciousness, and we're shifting in consciousness, but it's still if we choose. Like I chose and I awakened, but it felt so easy, because I had Eckhart Tolle's help for 3 years. So actually it felt very easy to awaken to 3D, but I had him every Tuesday, for 1 hour. So I was like, I thought it was easy. And then I wanted to shut it all down. And then he said, that's madness. And it would take you 23 years to awaken again if you choose. And you'd have to have weekly therapy. And I was like somatic therapy so that I am in my body, embodied. And I was like, no way, Eckhart. I need to help my family. I need to be there for my family. And if I can awaken, they can awaken. And he's like, they're not choosing. And I'm like, oh no, if they knew, they would choose this. And he's like, they are not choosing this. And it will be very painful for you to shut down your consciousness again. And I was like, classic naive. I can handle it. It was brutal. I would never, ever choose that again. And he was right. My family did not care about consciousness, meditation, presence, source. They don't care, right? They're the dark triad. They love lying, cheating, and stealing. So it's like hard to name a spade a spade. It's hard to see things as they are. And it took me decades. So I learned the hard way. I learned the hard way, and now I can talk about it. Senija says, blessings to our family in source's name. Yeah, absolutely. And then Laura says, I do get it. It's not my job to change anyone. Fair point about which level of consciousness the perspective is coming from. Yeah, they really have to choose. Yeah. And I really thought everybody wanted this. Like, I literally thought in 2000, everybody wants consciousness more than anything. My sister doesn't care at all about consciousness. She only cares and loves money and power and loves money and power. And so does my older brother. They love money and power and they will lie, cheat, and steal for money and power. They love it that much. They love their cars. They love their houses. They absolutely do not care about consciousness at all. Eckhart was right in 2000. And it took me like till 2022 to awaken that it's true. So I did the low, slow path. Yeah. Okay. Mm, okay, so we're getting out of time, or we're out of time, but I feel like I'm getting out of time. I'm getting out of energy. Okay, so I'm going to check the chat, and Jordan has joined, and Jordan's new, so I'm just going to welcome Jordan. But I'm just going to make sure that Laura is closed and sealed. So let's close Laura's session, 1970. I almost said 1990. So let's close Laura's session, like clear it and close it in Source's name. And just so that Laura feels grounded and embodied. And then because these are big questions, big questions when it comes to family and ancestral lines, the pain body gets very activated and they're big questions, right? So, all right, so let's close for Laura in Source's name and then, okay, and then going back into still point, back into presence. And then you can say it this way, like connecting to the diamond body, to connecting to the light body. And then even beyond that is like the I am presence, connecting to our higher selves, only source aligned. And then we're just here to kind of like discuss, the truth. But there's no the truth, but to discuss the truth. And then there's layers of consciousness, right? Just like there's layers of dimensions in consciousness. So what could be true in 5D is like has a different nuance in like 7D, right? So kind of think of it that way. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Laura. Okay, good. So back to still point, always back to the heart and then the inner body and then source consciousness, connecting to the higher self, only source aligned, the I am presence. Good. So Laura says, I appreciate you all and sending lots of love and gratitude. Thank you. And I will send you some hearts. Thank you, Laura. Okay, so let's see Jordan's new here on the chat. Okay, welcome, Jordan. Thanks for putting in your name with the handle. It helps me that I don't have to be a detective. Thank you. My name is Jordan, 1994. Do you detect any prep work or guidance in preparation for our decree session on Friday? Yeah, you just show up. That's it. Be comfy. The sessions can be long. They're kind of 4 or 5 hours. We kind of let go of time a bit. And then have, kind of water and some things that you like to drink and some snacks around. And then that's it. And then just basically we just show up. And then we'll kind of talk everything through actually. So, and we give ourselves that kind of space and time to kind of allow everything to come forward that needs to come forward and it always does, so yeah. But thanks for being here and thanks for booking a session. That's really great. And I look forward to meeting you. And then I saw that, Jordan, you had said that about metamorphosis, and that is so accurate. That's a really good way. describing the transformation. Okay, and then Jordan says, what a valuable lesson. It's a relief knowing I couldn't transform others if I tried. Keeps my focus inward toward integration and implosion. What is that? Centripetal? Centripetal? I've never actually heard that word. Centripetal. Wow. Okay. Rather than horizontal cause and effect. Okay. Yes. The vertical. Okay. Yeah. The vertical instead of the horizontal. Exactly. One, 2, and 3D is all horizontal, right? And we start asking questions, and that's connecting to the heart and going into the vertical. And then that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 D, and then source consciousness, right? It's 25D. And Jordan says, perfect, thank you. Yeah, thanks for being here, Jordan. And thanks for commenting and joining the chat. And let's see, I'm going to write down. Yeah, I'm going to send lots of love, and we'll see you soon. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Laura says, sending love and gratitude to everybody. Awesome. I appreciate you all, Laura says. And then that's, yeah, and then I'm glad you feel a relief, Jordan, because it is actually a relief. And it was the hardest thing for me to learn. And for you, it's like, it's amazing. You're like, what a relief. Because it's true. I spent decades, and to me, it's not wasted because it's part of the awakening process, but really it's wasted, like I could have had a really good 5 to 7D life since 2000. So think of it that way, Um, yeah. And then keeping your focus inward, and then with your own heart, your own consciousness. Yeah. Beautiful. And then Helen says, bye to everyone. Bye, Elaine. Bye, Helen. Bye, everyone. Thanks for asking questions. Thanks for joining the live. I'm here again on Thursday at 11:11. And then, we'll see what's kind of happening. And I have so much gratitude for all of you. Truly, I'm so grateful that you're here and you're asking questions, and we're having by asking these questions, we're helping each other. We're helping each other in that awakening process and awakening consciousness in ourselves, but also embodying consciousness. So yeah, lots of love, and we'll see you in the next one. And I'll see Jordan on Friday. And thanks for joining. I do appreciate it. And, these lives have been, we have processed and awakened so much in these lives. So I'm so grateful that you're here, and we'll see you in the next one. Always use your own discernment, right? How you feel about things, how your body is responding is always the most important. All right.